Master Tavern Keeper's History of the Old World. And so, now let us look at the waxing and then taking of Lashiek at the hands of Jaffar. Its rise to dominance really happened during the Great Trade War between Cathay, Ulthuan and Araby during the 1150s. This was the same period that the Sultan of Khar sent Ibn Jalaba down south to try and find a land route to the east and encountered the lizardmen of the hidden city of Zlatlan, if you recall. The Sultan of Lashiek, though, took a different approach. Rather than dodge the problem of the trade war, he grabbed the bull by the horns and unleashed his fleets of corsairs. These terrorized the southern waters of the Great Ocean and captured and enslaved anyone and everyone that they could get their hooks into, greatly enriching Lashiek's coffers as they did so. The city's power was now such that, after the end of outright hostilities between the three maritime nations, the High Elves came back to Lashiek and now maintain a mercantile presence in the city, sifting through the waves of booty from around the globe that flood into the harbours in search of the lost azure treasures of yore. Speaking more broadly, though, it can be rightly said that Lashiek is one of the three cities, together with Kofa and Al-Haik, that form the backbone of the country, and the sultans and sultanas of Lashiek have ever been loyal members of the triumvirate that maintains the power of the crown and support their figurehead, the great sultan in Al-Haik.
Oh, so I think you've painted a pretty enough picture of Lashiek. And I'd say, from what you said, that their leader would definitely resist the upstart, Jaffar. How did they respond to this army of desert nomads turning up on the doorstep?
Ah, well, poorly. You are right indeed that the Sultan of Lashiek and his immediate circle were no supporters of this wild, magic-wielding sultan and his rabble of fighters in from the desert, and they were confident that the people of Lashiek, too, would have no sympathy towards Jaffar. However, there was a chink in the armour of Lashiek. One particular group that could be drawn to the negotiating table, and that was the corsairs. Jaffar and his army camped south of the city, near the coast overlooking the mouth of the estuary. Here, he put the first part of his plan into action. Upon a sturdy caravan, numerous magical jars filled with sparkling seawater were wheeled out to the shore where Jaffar's tent stood. Each contained the essence of a sea nymph, a salt devil if you prefer, one of the jinn of the sea, bound by the magics of the sorcerer Jaffar. Members of his trusted inner circle dragged them out at some rocks overlooking the glittering waters of the great ocean, and Jaffar himself sliced open this seal to each. The waters within poured out into the sea, and from each rose up an inhumanly beautiful female figure surrounded by streams of water. The dark sorcerer then spent a few moments directing each before they dove into the sea towards the great chain gate over the estuary. As is always the case, many ships and boats were both sailing into and out of the port city at the time. The sea nymphs set upon each, freezing the water around them, capsizing them, and then dragging the occupants down into the depths and drowning them. The iceberg-like hulls left floating as hazards for other shipping until each eventually melted and sank. They then turned their attention onto the Great Gate Bridge, turning it to ice and making it impossible to pass through. In the space of a few hours, the most powerful fleet in the world had all but been humbled. This threat to the livelihood of the pirates and corsairs soon had their leaders grovelling at the tent door of Jaffar. He did not require much of them, though. Merely that they fear him, obey him, and give him the name of someone in the Sultan's family with whom Jaffar could work. As you can imagine, there was a man, a nephew of the Sultan, who'd long had nefarious dealings with the corsairs of the city. And by dusk the next day, this man was sat upon the throne of Lashiek.
Oh, my goodness, what happened?
It was the Skaven. In a single night, assassins cleared the line of succession, cutting the throats, poisoning the foods, and smothering in their sleep each who stood between the ambitious lackey of Jaffar and the throne. In this way, the city fell into the hands of those loyal to Jaffar, and gifted him a cutthroat navy without a drop of the blood of his own men being spilt, and he, although not his army, entered the city in triumph.